The day my dad died, Jenny immediately asked me for a divorce. After 6 years, she could finally grind me into the dirt. She was thrilled. "Jack," she said, "I never want to see you again." I nodded, and I never saw her again. Later, she would ask me, "Am I less important than a dog?" I'd be holding my dog, and I'd just say flatly, "How much have you had to drink? You're comparing yourself to my dog?" We were married for 4 years. Jenny never once gave me the time of day. To her, I was a conniving, despicable person with a heart full of poison. She loathed me so much she could skip my own father's funeral. A lot of people came to offer their condolences, but most of them were just there for the drama. Why is Jack the only one in the hall? Where's Jenny? When has her family ever taken him seriously? This is a huge deal. How could the daughter-in-law not show up? Hey, look at this. What? Check what's trending. Jenny is at a hot spring in Aspen with Leo. TSK, TSK. She really has always been hung up on that pretty boy actor. My dad was on his deathbed, and Jenny never visited. Not once. She was either visiting Leo on set or walking the red carpet with him at some overseas festival. The news was everywhere, all to piss off my dad and hopefully make him die faster. Jenny knew my father was the most important person in the world to me, so she knew exactly where to stick the knife to make it hurt the most. I stared at my father's coffin. A wave of immense grief washed over every fiber of my being. Couldn't cry. I couldn't even make a sound. Memories of my entire life with him flashed through my mind. Every morning I woke up, I would no longer have a father. Every evening at sunset, he would no longer be waiting for me to come home. I was so useless. I just let him leave me. Jenny had done it. The pain was excruciating. So painful I collapsed onto the straw mats of the memorial hall. But when I came to, I was still in the same position. The world was full of noise, but I felt completely forgotten. Late that night, there was a sound outside the hall. Jenny had arrived. I didn't move. I knew she was here to gloat. She was that kind of person, short-tempered. If you crossed her, she would stomp you into the ground. We had tortured each other for 6 years, and in the end, I was the first to fall. Before my dad died, he was holding on by a thread, waiting for her to come. He wanted to try and talk some sense into her. After all, Jenny and I had once been in love. My dad never wanted to see us reach this point of mutual disgust. I told him to forget it. It's not like I was some saint either. For 6 years, whenever she provoked me, I never gave her an inch. But my dad wouldn't listen. He hoped Jenny and I could sit down, talk calmly, and figure out how to live our lives together. It was his final wish. I swallowed my pride and called Jenny. But it was Leo who answered. "Jenny's in the shower. Call back later." For the first time, I almost begged him. "I need to talk to her, it's important. Please just get her." Leo's tone was indifferent. "Jack, you really don't know when to quit. Do you have to see her lying in my arms before you stop being so shameless?" I dropped the phone, defeated. My throat ached, and a sob caught in my chest, leaving me speechless. I looked at my father, who was at the very end of his life. Felt like nothing mattered anymore. What if I won against Jenny? What if I lost? In that moment, I was sick and tired of this life. Jenny knelt before the brazier, adding paper money to the flames. I glanced up and saw her in a solemn black pantsuit, as if she were seeing off the deceased. "Don't be too sad," she said in a low voice. "Whose father dies and they're not sad." She was only saying it to twist the knife. My pain was her pleasure. Even in a moment this heavy, she could still toss off a casual "don't be too sad." She was telling me that if I had just known my place and been a good little tool for our business marriage, I wouldn't have ended up like this. My condolences. She kept her eyes down, dropping another sheet of paper into the fire. The flames cast a red glow on her pale skin, almost making her look like she had a shred of humanity. But it wasn't humanity. It was cold, hard mockery. I didn't say anything. I didn't want to speak a single word to her. "I'm the one who missed your call." And the trending topic was fake. Her voice was very quiet. It was impossible to read her emotions. But I knew. She was deliberately trying to get under my skin. I was 14 when I learned about my arranged marriage to Jenny. I had just been brought back to live with my mother's family, the Coles. Everyone said my dad had only stuck with my mother, Caroline Cole, for her money. Only Jenny ever showed me any kindness. She gave me a piece of candy to comfort me. There was a time I genuinely liked Jenny. But 6 years ago, while Jenny and I were giving each other the silent treatment, Leo started hitting on her. Jenny wanted to call off our engagement. Her family looked down on me, an illegitimate son, and couldn't wait to be rid of the arrangement. So they did nothing to move the marriage forward. They just let Jenny humiliate me. That's when the endless fights between us began. By that point, I had no interest in marrying her anymore. So I let go of all restraint and completely lost it. I raised hell, cursing her and her entire family tree. I didn't even spare Leo or his son. Jenny and Leo, united against a common enemy, nearly drove me to my death. But they didn't get off easy either. To this day, Leo is still getting dragged online. Back then, Jenny and I had reached a point of no return. It was do or die. When my mother found out, she was furious. She slapped me so hard my ears rang. Caroline gritted her teeth and said, "If you want your father to die, then keep fighting with Jenny." After my mom, Caroline, abandoned us, my dad raised me through the harsh winters, working to support us while also caring for a wailing baby. It destroyed his health. He was never well after that, plagued by chronic illness. On top of that, being rejected by my mom when he was young and drowned in gossip, he'd always had emotional issues. He had always loved my mom deeply, and he hoped that I could be the bridge to reconcile with her. When my mom came to get me, I refused to go back to the Cole family. But my dad said to me, "Jack, go home with your mother." There was such deep longing in his eyes, almost a plea. I couldn't refuse him. So I went back to the Cole family with Caroline. Caroline went to all that trouble to bring me back just for the marriage alliance with the Vance family. At the time, she told me, "If you're obedient, I'll make sure your father lives a happy life. If you're not, I don't know what will happen to him." When Jenny and I fought to the point of breaking off the engagement, there was no way Caroline would just let it go. I knew one word from her could make my father completely lose his mind. So I gave up fighting, obeyed her, and became the tool for her alliance. I don't know what method Caroline used, but she made the Vance family come to our door to apologize. And she made Jenny marry me. Even though Jenny and I were at each other's throats, we got married. After the wedding, our war didn't stop. I thought about making peace with her. I tried to explain the things she'd misunderstood, but she said my explanations disgusted her. So, every time she did something disgusting, she would come to me with some phony clarification. The truth didn't matter. What mattered was making me miserable. Now, with this huge story trending online, she was doing the same thing, offering a fake explanation just to mess with me. I looked at her, my expression blank. "Jenny, you can't even let me be in front of my own father's coffin? Do you really hate me this much?" It was the first thing I'd said since she appeared. Jenny looked up at me. Our eyes met. Her gaze was still, her expression calm, but an inexplicable, profound coldness emanated from her. I gave a numb little laugh. What a stupid question. She hated me and I hated her. Why even bother asking? Jenny said, "Didn't you send Leo to me? Wasn't the whole point to have people curse my name right when your father died? I was just giving you what you wanted. You don't even care about your own father, so why would you expect me to?" I calmly lowered my eyes and added more paper to the fire. I had sent Leo to her, because Jenny didn't deserve to be at my father's funeral. I knew she would eagerly play along and give me what I wanted. It was her counterattack. She was waiting for my next move, but she didn't know that this time I had no intention of making one. I didn't want to fight anymore. I stared into the flames and said softly, "Don't you like Leo? You were so eager to be seen with him, even when my dad was critically ill, that you wouldn't even come see him once. I thought if I sent him to you, it would put you in a good mood. You'd come here, put on a show, and make my dad happy." For once, Jenny was silent for a long time, her body radiating a suppressed rage. She just stared at me, not saying a word. I didn't look at her. I just said flatly, I bet that hypocrite Leo gave you another one of his righteous speeches, telling you to work things out with me and not let him get between us. You must have felt so sorry for him, thinking he's so good, so considerate, so kind. After all, you've always had a taste for hypocrites. Jenny suddenly grabbed my wrist as I was adding paper to the fire, her grip so tight it felt like she was trying to crush the bone. The heat from the brazier licked at both our wrists. I stared at her, my face a mask. She stared back, her expression just as blank. He is kinder and more considerate than you. At the very least, he knows how to be gracious. And he would never curse someone's child. I wrenched my hand away and shot her a cold look. So I'm not gracious. If I'm not happy, you don't get to be happy either. And I didn't just curse him back then. I'm cursing his son right now. I hope he ends up just like his dad, hitting on his friend's woman, calling his friend's woman honey, and being a shameless homewrecker. Jack, you should know that our falling out had nothing to do with Leo. A pretty boy who latches onto any rich woman he sees. You're right, it didn't have much to do with him. You're just cheap, unable to resist his charms. As soon as my dad's funeral is over, Before I could finish, Jenny shoved a stack of papers in front of my face. The words divorce agreement stared back at me. Her voice was icy. Jack, I never want to see you again. She had actually guessed my next move, and she'd beaten me to it, cutting off my final play. She gave me no chance to get one up on her. I reached out, took the papers without reading them, and said, I don't want anything. Just the kid. Jenny scoffed. You think you can win against me? Since our son, Damien, was born, he's been living abroad. Jenny has barely ever visited him. She hates me and she hates my child. She even named him Damien, a name practically spitting with loathing. She used to keep him stashed away overseas, and now she won't give him to me. It's all just to hurt me, not because she loves him. I clenched the papers in my hand. Jenny, you'd let our son go just for some kept man? Do you even deserve to be a mother? For a split second, she looked stunned, and emotions seemed to flicker in her eyes. Those eyes as deep as wells. When she looked at you with affection, you could lose yourself in them. After all these years, I'd forgotten what it looked like when she looked at me with love. She once crossed half the city just to bring me a box of candy. She once swallowed her pride for me. She once cooked countless meals for me with her own hands. When did we become enemies with no way back? Jenny's gaze seemed to lose focus for a moment. She looked like she wanted to say something, but in the end, she looked away and said nothing. In that moment, she was silent again for a long time. So long that I thought she wouldn't speak, until I heard her let out a short, sharp laugh. That depends on whether Damien is willing to go with you. My eyes suddenly stung. I saw the hunger for a new battle in her eyes. And if he is, I'll give him to you. I knew she wouldn't give me our son that easily. But right then, hearing her say something so definitive, I was pathetic enough to think I could try trusting her one more time. I lowered my head and had someone find me a pen. On the last line of the agreement, I wrote down what Jenny had just said. Then I signed it and handed it to her. I went back to burning paper in the brazier. You should go, I said quietly. Don't bring this bad luck on yourself. My dad didn't need her mourning. Every piece of paper she added to the fire was an insult to him. I despised her. I despised her so much I wanted to pry open her skull and see what was inside. Why on earth would she fall for a hypocrite who preys on his friends' women? The next day, as soon as the funeral was over, I drove back to the Vance family villa that afternoon. Jenny was true to her word. The moment my car pulled into the courtyard, I heard the sound of a child's laughter from inside. The house, usually so lifeless, finally had a spark of life in it for the first time under these circumstances. 5 years. I hadn't seen my son in 5 years. I was desperate to see what he looked like, to instinctively hold him, to kiss him. But the second I stepped through the door, I froze. Leo's son, Alex, and my son, Damien, were chasing each other, having the time of their lives. Jenny sat on the sofa, a laptop on her legs, busy with work, and Leo was in the open-plan kitchen preparing a meal. He looked like a gentle husband, taking time out of his busy schedule to be with his wife and children. The scene was beautiful, full of warmth and domestic bliss. It was a scene I had once fantasized about. Now it was a joke. The pitifully small amount of emotion I had left finally burned out in that moment. Damien saw me and stopped playing. He asked Jenny, "Mom, we have a guest." Jenny looked up at me, a mocking smile playing on her lips. Before Jenny could speak, Leo's voice drifted over. "Who's here? I thought we agreed it would just be the four of us for Damien's birthday with me cooking? Why'd you invite someone else?" Jenny replied, "I found you a helper." Damien grinned at Leo in the kitchen. "Daddy, you never cook well on my birthday. Today, Mommy found you a special helper." "Daddy," he called Leo Daddy. My feet stumbled back 2 steps without my consent. I thought about the cake I'd ordered, the restaurant I'd booked. I had thought tonight, Damien would have his first birthday with his father. I never imagined that his father had never been absent from any of his birthdays. It just wasn't me. It felt like my heart was being carved out. No wonder Jenny had said she'd give me Damien if he was willing to come with me. She wasn't that kind. To people she hated, she was always ruthless. Even now, when I was fresh from the pain of losing my father, it didn't stop her from twisting the knife in my heart. She would never give me our son. Whatever I wanted, she would destroy my hope for it. I stumbled and let out a laugh that made my eyes red. I looked like a madman. I scared Leo's son and my son. They both hid behind Jenny, watching me cautiously. I stared at Jenny for a long, long time. When I turned to leave, I didn't say a word. "Jenny Vance, life is a vast ocean. We don't need to see each other again." Back in my hometown of Rockville, the sky was overcast. The cemetery at midnight was chilling. A cold wind rustled the grass and trees, a desolate cry of mourning. I looked at the photo of my dad on the tombstone, and the tears finally poured down. But besides the howling wind and the cold night, there was no one to hear me say it. I'd lost my father and I'd lost my son. I couldn't hold on to the person who gave me life, and I couldn't hold on to my child. My life was a mess, but that's okay. Couldn't get any worse than this. From now on, every step I took would be a step up. I looked up at the dark, lonely cemetery. In the empty silence, everything around me took on a strange, vast grandeur. The sharp wind sounded like the wail of ghosts. Most people are afraid of ghosts. I used to be too. But in that moment, I wished that souls really did exist. That way, my dad could meet me again, in some deserted corner of the world. As I was getting ready to go home, I heard the whimpering of a puppy. In the bushes nearby, there was a tiny, newborn puppy that someone had abandoned. I squatted down and looked at it for a while. Its eyes weren't even open, but it was struggling, searching for its mother. But it would never find its mother again. I thought about when I was 5. My mom, Caroline, hadn't completely abandoned my dad yet. She would visit us from time to time. I thought we were a happy family of 3, but we weren't. Caroline had secretly married someone else in Washington, D.C. Behind my dad's back. It was a family alliance known throughout the city. Everyone knew but my dad. Powerful families don't tolerate scandals. By the time Caroline's husband, Daniel Morgan, found out about my dad and me, I was 10. He was furious, and when he went after my dad, his methods were vicious but subtle. The wealthy know best how powerful words can be. He hired people to spread rumors and start vicious gossip. My dad was mocked, cursed, and pointed at. He was often depressed, sometimes not saying a word all day. I was also a victim of the rumors at school, isolated and bullied. The students didn't like me, the teachers didn't like me, the neighbors didn't like me. Felt like my dad didn't like me either. Nobody around me liked me. That was the first time I thought about dying. Finally, one day, I stood by the river, wandering from dawn till dusk. Someone asked me what I was doing. I said, "I'm looking for my dad, my mom, my friends. Did you find them?" I shook my head and fell headfirst into the water. When I woke up, my dad was holding me, sobbing uncontrollably. He kissed my forehead over and over. "If no one loves you, Daddy loves you. If the whole world abandons you, Daddy wants you. Daddy's sorry. Don't leave me, Jack. You're all I have." It was strange. My dad was right there in front of me, But at that moment, I still couldn't find the person he used to be. This little puppy now, it was just like me back then. Ignored, unable to find its mom or dad, unable to find anyone. But in the end, my shattered father picked himself up, piece by piece. He gave me the only bit of fading light he had left. He saved me from the darkness. He made me feel loved, feel cared for. I found my dad, but I only found my dad. Grief swept through my heart again. My soul tore itself apart, wanting to go back to the past, but my body was powerless, trapped in the present moment. The dad who taught me morals, the dad who helped me with my studies, the dad who, tricked and rejected by my mom, would hold me and repeatedly ask if I loved him. The dad who would talk to himself while I was sound asleep, his words turning into choked sobs. The dad who, though drowning in his own depression, still taught me to have a good heart. None of it would ever happen again. The memories had faded to a dull gray. Now, I truly couldn't find my father anymore. I took the puppy home with me. When I got back, the sky was just beginning to lighten. My mother, Caroline, was waiting for me outside the door. The remnants of funeral offerings hadn't been fully swept away. She stood on them, her face devoid of emotion, as if the person who died was a complete stranger. My dad passed away, and this so-called mother of mine never showed up once, from beginning to end. She only fulfilled the promise she made when she threatened me into marrying Jenny. She let my dad live out the rest of his days in peace. Beyond that, she wouldn't do a single thing more. You're divorcing Jenny? Oh, so that's why she was here. In her mind, profit really did trump everything. For years, she had never set foot here, never once came to see my dad. Now, after he was gone, she showed up, but not for him. Back then, if it wasn't for the fact that she had no sons and couldn't secure the alliance with the Vance family herself, she wouldn't have given a damn if my dad and I had both died, let alone come to bring me back to the Cole family. I looked at this so-called mother, a chill creeping into my heart. I answered flatly, yes. Caroline said, stay married to the Vances, and I'll give you 10% of the Cole family's shares. I laughed. She really thought money could buy anything. After a few seconds, I wiped the smile from my face. If you give me all your assets and the position as the Cole family heir, I might consider it. The expression on Caroline's face hardened. Jack, it's not good to be too greedy. I shot back. Did you really think you mean anything to me? If it weren't for my dad, do you think I'd be your tool, the Vance family's dog? Get out of my sight. From today on, I have nothing to do with you. I don't need a mother, and I especially don't need a mother like you. A sarcastic smirk touched Caroline's lips. You think your dad loved you that much? You think you know him so well? How foolish. If your father really loved you so much, he would have rather died than let you come back to the Cole family with me. But instead, he stepped on your suffering to enjoy all these years of a comfortable life. He only ever loved me. He wanted to use you to get back to my side. Too bad you were such a disappointment. My temper flared. Shut up. Get out. What right do you have to judge him? He didn't love me? So you loved me? I quickly walked toward the house, ignoring her. But before I even reached the door, my phone chimed with a new email notification. Caroline said, read that email carefully. You'll understand what kind of person your father really was. As long as you don't get divorced, I'll bring your father's ashes and memorial tablet back to the Cole family estate and have him entered into the family records. With that, Caroline got in her car and left. I didn't look at the email she sent. I knew perfectly well that my dad didn't love me that much. A lot of the time, I was just a tool for him to channel his longing for my mom. He protected me desperately, healed me desperately, only to keep the bridge between him and my mother from collapsing. I remember it clearly. I was 14. Caroline came to take me back to the Cole family. Subconsciously, I didn't want to go. That night, I slept restlessly. I got up to get a glass of water and heard my parents talking in the dim living room. Caroline, as long as you convince Jack to come back with me, I'll give you anything you want. My dad, what if I want to be with you? Caroline, once Jack completes the marriage alliance with the Vances, the Morgan family will be useless to me. I'll divorce Daniel Morgan and be with you. Then the three of us can be a family, and we'll never be separated. Really? Through the narrow crack in the door, I saw the light in my father's eyes. But a long moment later, I heard him say in a low voice, "I love Jack. I hope you'll love him too. Don't let him be wronged." In that moment, my heart was a mix of sour and bitter. Before I could even sort out my feelings, tears started to fall. Later, when my dad asked me to go back with Caroline, I agreed. Because I knew my dad's shattered soul had never been repaired. My mom would never be the cure for him, she would only be his poison. I wanted to be his cure. I started dating Jenny. I tried my best to be good to her. I desperately wanted to make this marriage alliance happen. I wanted to use the Vance family's power and status to pay back every single crime Caroline's husband had inflicted on me and my dad. But then, Jenny had a change of heart. I had no one backing me up. Facing a massive, powerful family, I was like an ant. Not only did I fail to strike back, but I was subjected to a new round of being crushed. I was so useless. I started to hate a lot of things. Among the many people and things I hated Jenny the most. We began to torture each other, until my dad fell critically ill. Only then did I have a sudden awakening. I had accomplished nothing. My dad may not have loved me perfectly, but he did so much for me. Even if it was because he loved Caroline, even if he used me as a vessel for his nostalgia. He truly, genuinely tried to be a sun to light up my world. And yet, I had done nothing for him. What right did I have to demand his unconditional love? I was such a mess. Ever since Jack left that day, Jenny had been waiting for his counterattack. But a day, then two, then a month went by. There was no word from Jack. Jenny didn't believe he could just give up so easily. In the past, he would have made her pay dearly. But another month passed, and he still did nothing. The only news about him came from his lawyer, who contacted her. The lawyer said, "Mr. Cole has fully entrusted me with the divorce proceedings. He said that with Ms. Vance's capabilities, his presence shouldn't be necessary to obtain the divorce certificate. Mr. Cole also said he hopes Ms. Vance will complete the divorce process as soon as possible." It was like winding up for a huge punch only to hit a ball of cotton. Not only was Jenny not satisfied, she felt a suffocating tightness in her chest. A fire was burning in her heart, making it ache. There was an important partnership meeting at the company today. She had to be fully focused. The slightest mistake could render half a year of the company's efforts worthless. But the meeting had just begun, and her mind was already wandering. "Jenny." Suddenly, she heard Jack's voice in the room. "Jenny, I give up. I'm leaving." Jenny pinched the bridge of her nose, forcing herself to concentrate. But all she could hear was Jack's voice echoing in her ears. "I'm leaving." She had handled many high-stakes situations. In every single one, she had been perfectly composed. But now, she was agitated, extremely agitated. This agitation made it impossible to control her emotions and temper. Over a tiny detail, she flew into a rage at the conference table. A multi-billion-dollar project went up in smoke just like that. As the sun set, Jenny sat slumped in her office. For the first time, she felt like life had lost its drive. That night, Jenny was kneeling in the center of the Vance family garden. Her back was hunched like a corpse. Her father, Martin Vance, had whipped her. First, Jenny had orchestrated that trending topic fiasco when Jack's father died, which had already sent Mr. Vance into a rage. Now she had lost such a huge project. Mr. Vance could no longer tolerate it. "You disgrace the Vance name and ruin your own reputation. Not only do you not do any damage control, but at a time like this, you still want to divorce Jack. You've been married for years. What's the point of a divorce now? And now you've lost this massive deal. Do you care that much about Jack? You don't give a damn about the Vance family's survival?" Mr. Vance's words made Jenny's eyelids twitch, as if there was a knife hidden in them. Mr. Vance let out a laugh. "What, are you curious how I know you care about him?" He continued, "You think making his life hell means you hate his guts? You think parading around with some pretty boy actor makes you the one in control of the relationship? Jenny, I'm a man too. I know women like you better than anyone." Mr. Vance said, "I've done everything you've done. That's why you grew up without a mother." His cloudy eyes seemed to hold ancient emotions. He suddenly burst out laughing, a laugh filled with regret, and then he hit Jenny even harder. "No wonder your mother didn't want you. She was right. You have my blood in you. You'd be just like me. You'd make her sick. I never thought you'd be exactly like me. You're repeating my life, and Damien will repeat yours. The women of this family, you really know how to pass things down." Late that night, as I was about to fall asleep, I got a call from Walter, the head housekeeper at the Vance estate. During my 6 years with the Vances, Walter was the only one who ever cared for me when I was sick. In this world, even the smallest kindnesses can move me, even if all he ever did was hand me a glass of warm water. I answered his call. Walter's anxious voice came through. "Young master, the master is going to beat the young mistress to death." I could hear the sound of a whip cracking in the background. The sound of flesh tearing wasn't pleasant. I was suddenly reminded of a few weeks ago, when Jenny and Leo were cornered in a hotel. I wasn't even out of bed yet when her father was already sitting in the living room with a whip, waiting. Everyone in the house, from the elderly staff to the maids, felt sorry for Jenny and was afraid she'd be beaten. They all knelt and begged me to intervene. My dad was already gravely ill by then, and I had no heart left to fight with her. I didn't want the Vance family disturbing my dad over this stuff. So I went. Leo, wearing the multi-million-dollar watch Jenny had bought for him at an auction, stood there in the morning sun, looking at me with open defiance. The watch's meaning was a fairy tale of time, love eternal. Facing the paparazzi's questions, I numbly recited a prepared, fake statement. I saw the scorn and mockery in everyone's eyes. That day, Jenny whispered in my ear, "Jack, you're so pathetic, rushing over here to make a fool of yourself." I laughed and said, "Don't worry. From now on, I won't be pathetic anymore." So, when Jenny was in Aspen, I personally delivered Leo to her. And Jenny didn't disappoint me. On the day of my father's funeral, she let the news of her and Leo at the hot springs trend online. In that moment, it was completely over between us. I said to Walter calmly, "We're divorced. From now on, if she has a problem, tell her to call Leo." Walter stammered, "But you're not divorced yet, are you?" "Everything's ready. The divorce is inevitable." "Walter, I hope you can help me take good care of Damien. He's so young, it's easy for him to go down the wrong path. Please." Walter's voice seemed to choke up. "Young master, can't you give the young mistress one more chance? There's no need." Walter listened to the dial tone. He wiped away a tear. When he turned around, he saw Jenny standing behind him, beaten black and blue. "Miss, I'll have the driver take you to the hospital." "What did he say?" Walter was stunned for a moment, then sighed. He said, "For me to take good care of the young master Damien. That's it." He also said that from now on, your problems are Leo's. Jenny's tall frame swayed. Her vision blurred for a second. A sharp, rapid pain shot through her heart. She bent over slightly, tasting for the first time a pain in her heart so acute. She gave a faint smile and tried to straighten up, but her vision went completely black. She suddenly collapsed. In the last second before she lost consciousness, all she heard was Walter's frantic shouting. Maybe it was pathetic, but in that moment, the thing she wanted to hear most was Jack's triumphant laughter at seeing her like this. "My puppy miraculously survived." Even the vet was surprised. "This little guy was meant to be with you," he said. "Maybe. When I was little, I used to hear the old folks in the village say that when people die, their souls might attach to a cat or a dog or some other living creature, just so they can see their loved ones one more time, to accompany the person they love for one last stretch. Maybe my dad's spirit is in this dog. Maybe he's watching me through its eyes. He wants to stay with me a little longer. Even if my dad's love for me was flawed, it was 1,000 times better than anyone in this world who never loved me at all. Caroline, she has no right to judge him." As the puppy was running around the house, my phone suddenly rang. Tilted its head, looking at the noisy device, impossibly cute. These last 2 months in Rockville, having him by my side, I got through the hardest days. I no longer wake up in the middle of the night, suffocating from grief. I no longer feel suddenly and crushingly lonely in a crowd. The ringing stopped. A moment later, it started again. I stared at the unfamiliar number for a long time before finally answering. The other end was silent for a while. Then, Jenny's voice, so low it was barely audible, came through. "Jack, you didn't lose. I lost. I felt nothing. Winning and losing don't matter to me anymore." Her voice was heavy with exhaustion. "And I don't matter anymore either. Do I?" I retorted. "When were you ever important to me?" She laughed, a hint of mockery in her tone. "True. You only got with me to help your mom with that business marriage." I lowered my eyes, thinking about all those years with her. For a moment, I couldn't tell if my feelings for her had been real or fake. But how could they be fake? I had felt so much pain, gone so crazy. But she never believed I loved her. Fine, don't believe it. I finally understood. Someone who loves you will believe anything you say. Someone who doesn't love you will think you're just pretending to be asleep, even if you're dead. I gave her a perfunctory reply. "Yeah. As long as you know." Jenny went silent. For a long, long time. So long I thought she had hung up. Then I heard her let out a laugh. "If I died, would you be happy?" I said flatly, "Jenny, whether you live or die has nothing to do with me. After all, I never loved you. But if you want to die just to give me a little entertainment, I suppose I wouldn't be against it." She was silent again. The puppy sat in front of me, looking up at me with its bright eyes. I stroked its head and said to the person on the phone, "Don't call me again. If you really want to die, just get it over with. Jenny, I need you to come back for the divorce. Just contact my lawyer. I've already signed all the papers. My lawyer said he contacted you 2 months ago. You said you were busy. You should be done being busy by now, right? Jenny, I want to talk to you in person about Damien's custody." "Jenny, stop using Damien as a bargaining chip. The custody is yours." "I don't want it. Damien is yours." "No thanks. A child who calls another man dad won't recognize me even if he comes to me. He has your blood in him. I know exactly what kind of person he'll be." Jack's words were like a sharp blade, stabbing fiercely into Jenny's heart. Listening to the dial tone, Jenny's hand dropped limply. The phone fell to the floor. The smell of disinfectant filled her nostrils, stinging her eyes and making them red. The hospital room was empty. She looked at the empty space, feeling as if she had been plunged into an ice cellar, chilled to the bone. The stabbing pain in her chest returned, and her breathing became difficult. In just a moment, her forehead was covered in sweat. Jenny clutched her chest and let out a laugh. A hereditary heart condition from her mother. Her father said her mother hated her so much she left her nothing. Not a single word. She never even came back to see her daughter before she died. Who said her mother left her nothing? This heart condition, wasn't that what her mother left her? She would be seeing her mother soon. She wondered if her mother would still recognize her when they met. Probably not. She hated Martin Vance so much that she'd rather die alone outside than give him any news. To this day, he still didn't know where her grave was. Only now, as her life was about to end, did Jenny suddenly feel that all the fighting, the winning and losing, was meaningless. Only now did she realize she had unwittingly wasted so many beautiful, ordinary days. She should have been with her husband and son, like thousands of other normal families, living happily year after year. But now, all that was left were ashes and a heart full of regrets. If, back then, she hadn't gotten entangled with Leo and deliberately hurt Jack just for that awful desire to win. If, every time she saw him hurt and in pain, she had been able to take a step back. If she hadn't sent their son abroad. If, on that day, she hadn't asked Leo to come over for Damien's birthday party. If, on that day, she hadn't taught Damien to say those words, would everything have ended differently? But alas, there are no what-ifs in life. She had brought herself to this point. She didn't have the right to regret it. All she deserved was to go to hell with her regrets. I never expected Jenny to find my dad's old house in Rockville. That night, there was a heavy snow. My puppy had caught a cold and was feeling sick. I was about to take him to the vet. But when I opened the door, I saw Jenny standing outside. The strong smell of alcohol hit me, and I frowned instinctively. She was much, much thinner than before. She looked sickly. Snowflakes covered her, and her already pale face was now frighteningly white. Only her nose was red from the cold, giving her a touch of color. She looked like she had been standing there for a long time. When she saw me, her eyes moved slightly, her gaze focusing on me. In her eyes, I thought I saw defeat and regret. But we just stood there, speechless. I started to leave with the dog in my arms. But Jenny grabbed my wrist. "Jack." Her voice was hoarse and hard to make out. I looked down at her hand. "Jenny," I said coolly, "didn't we say we'd never see each other again?" She managed a weak smile. "You know me best. I never keep my word." Then she looked at the puppy in my arms. "Is he sick?" I pulled my hand free. "He's sick and needs to go to the hospital. I'm in a hurry. Please get out of my way." I don't know if I used too much force or if she was too drunk. When I pulled away, she staggered and nearly fell. It took her a moment to steady herself. By then, I was already a few yards away. Through the wind and snow, Jenny called out after me, "Jack, I'm sick too." Her voice was so light, carried on the cold wind. It seemed laced with humility and pleading. I couldn't remember the last time she had said my name so calmly. But it didn't really matter. I didn't turn back. "I'm not a doctor. Why are you telling me?" "Jenny, am I less important than a dog?" I chuckled, stroking the sick puppy's head. "How much have you had to drink? You're comparing yourself to my dog?" After that, I didn't linger. I drove to the vet. The heavy snow fell like cotton fluff, dancing in the air. Jenny stood in the blizzard, watching my car's taillights disappear. In that moment, she felt like she couldn't breathe. Her eyes followed Jack's car until it was gone. He drove off without a backward glance. Only the snowflakes swirled, scattered by the wind, and finally returned to silence. Jenny lay unconscious in the snow for a long time. The dreams her mind wove were all about her 14 years with Jack. The Vance and Cole families had a long-standing marriage agreement. But Caroline Cole had no son, so she did everything she could to bring Jack back. The year he was 14, when he was first brought back to the Cole family, they forbade him from seeing his father. He would often squat in a corner by himself, looking pathetic, but if you looked closely, you could see a hint of hatred. It was just that the hatred was often hidden beneath his pitiful exterior, and no one noticed. Jenny knew that look all too well. It was the powerless resentment of the lower class toward the upper class. There were plenty of scandals in wealthy families, but most of the time, the blame was pinned on outsiders. A man from outside seduced Caroline Cole and had an illegitimate son. But who knew who seduced whom? Or who cheated and abandoned whom? The truth didn't matter. What mattered was what people believed. So Jenny often watched him, always wondering if he would survive in the Cole family. That year, there was a wedding in the Cole family. When the newlyweds arrived, someone would throw candy from behind them. There were many children there, and the candy was snatched up the moment it hit the ground. But Jack stood timidly alone behind the group of young masters and misses. He clearly wanted to pick up a piece of candy, but he never took a step forward. When he looked at the candy, there was no desire in his eyes, only a hint of disgust. She observed him for a long time. He was stubborn, yet so pitiful. She took a piece of candy from her pocket and handed it to the insecure but proud Jack. She would never forget how he blushed as he took the candy. 14-year-old Jack was quiet and friendless. Because of that one piece of candy, that small act of kindness, he remembered her for a long, long time. Later, they fell in love. He was incredibly good to her, so good it felt unreal. She once casually mentioned that she wanted to eat vegetables and fruits he grew himself. He really planted all sorts of vegetables and fruits for her. She was on a business trip and lied that she had a stomachache. He drove through the night to her city to bring her medicine. She said she didn't want to eat out, so he cooked for her himself. It was strange. He loved her so passionately, but she often felt he was cold, as if his fervent love for her was just a facade covering a thick layer of ice. Until she overheard a conversation between him and Caroline. Only then did she realize he was just there to fulfill Caroline's business marriage alliance for his father's sake. She had always been the one playing with others. When had a man ever played her like this? So, she started to hurt him. She wanted to see sadness, pain, and madness on his face. They broke up, got back together over and over. Finally, when his only good friend, Leo, started hitting on her, she didn't hesitate to pick up Leo like a knife and stab it into his heart. Jack finally went mad, just as she wished. He cursed her viciously, cursed Leo. He was ridiculous, like a lunatic. At that moment, Jenny was ecstatic. She didn't pity him at all. Instead, she teamed up with Leo to completely crush him. She knew he wouldn't marry her anymore. It didn't matter. She had no use for a man who didn't love her. She could marry whomever she wanted. But the Coles used the Vance's entire foundation to threaten her father. The marriage had to happen. The Vance and Cole families had always been deeply intertwined, their cooperation close. But Caroline was too aggressive and had dabbled in gray areas. If Caroline went crazy, the Vance's would be implicated, and the consequences would be dire. She wasn't some lovesick fool. For the sake of the Vance family's interests, she married Jack. In that moment, she was even a little excited. She was curious to see what would happen if she was entangled with that version of Jack for a lifetime. After they had a child, she still kept up her ties with Leo. His mother, Caroline, relentlessly mocked, ridiculed, and suppressed him. Jenny did nothing. He was the one who married her for the Cole family's sake. He got what he wanted, so he had to bear the risk of failure and accept the consequences. He started to sit silently for days and nights, not saying a word, not moving at all. The baby would be crying his heart out next to him, and it wouldn't affect him in the slightest. She sent the child away. After the child was gone, Jack's mental state miraculously recovered. He hated her even more, despised her even more. It was as if all the hatred in his heart had been transferred onto her. He started to give her the cold shoulder again, mock her, and then find all sorts of women to annoy her. She wasn't idle either. From beginning to end, she only ever used Leo. She knew Leo was a thorn in his side. She didn't find anyone else, only Leo. That would hurt him, and she did hurt him. So when his father died, he personally delivered Leo to her, drugged her, and arranged for the reporters. He wanted a divorce. She knew it. So she gave him what he wanted and let the story trend online, shattering him. She handed him the divorce papers in the memorial hall. She thought he would go crazy, tear up the papers, and continue their endless war. But he didn't. He signed the papers calmly. He showed no emotion. In that moment, he hurt her too. His father was dead, so he had no more weaknesses. He no longer had to be controlled by Caroline. So he wanted to divorce her? How dare he come and go as he pleased? She would force him into an endless fight, entangled with her for a lifetime. So she deliberately relented on the issue of their child. All so that when he came to the Vance estate, she could have Damien say those words to wound him. She thought, seeing his child like that, he would have to fight back. And the best way to fight back was not to divorce. She wanted him to say, "Jenny, if I'm not happy, you don't get to be happy either. I'm going to be tangled up with you for the rest of my life." But he said nothing. He just left her. 1 month, 2 months. He really did disappear from her world. Everything was handed over to his lawyer. He didn't even want their child anymore. And he would never want her again. At the end of the dream, Jenny saw Jack's car pull up in front of her. He got out and looked at her with concern. "Jenny, what's wrong? I'll take you to the hospital." His voice was like a huge vortex, echoing in her ears. But when she opened her eyes, there was nothing but snow falling on her face and the biting wind. Jack hadn't come back. She was still lying where she had fallen, so cold her whole body was numb. In the dead of the snowy night, everything was silent. She was almost buried in the snow, completely ignored. The pain in her chest consumed every nerve in her body, twisting her organs. The agony was unbearable. So this was how painful it was to be terminally ill. She finally understood the desolation Jack must have felt, keeping vigil for his father all alone. She struggled to her feet. She went to her car, took out some painkillers and swallowed them. When the medicine finally kicked in and the pain subsided, Jack returned. I didn't expect Jenny to still be there. It was late, and I had no intention of talking to her. I walked straight toward the house. My dog needed to get warm. It was too cold outside. As I passed her, she spoke. "Jack, do you really not want our child? No matter how much love and hate there is between us, Damien is innocent. You're his father. Don't you love him at all?" How ridiculous. She knew Damien was innocent, too. If he was so innocent, why did she name him Damien? When I was trying everything to see my child, she said I didn't deserve to be his father. Now that I didn't want anything, she was telling me I was Damien's father and I should love him. Wasn't she the one who kept me from seeing him? Wasn't she the one who taught him to call Leo Dad? If this were the old me, I might have argued with her. But now, I couldn't muster the energy to say another word. She was just here to get under my skin. I didn't stop. I didn't even look at her. I walked into the house and locked the door behind me. A thick layer of snow covered the yard. Crunched underfoot as I walked. The wintersweet was in full bloom. Under the streetlight, snowflakes drifted down. In the cold, romantic scenery, I felt more relaxed than ever. From now on, I would live my life this freely. There would be no more love or hate. No more fake family ties. I didn't want to be drawn into those power struggles either. I would just be myself, and I would only love myself. In the middle of the night, I got up to check on my puppy and happened to glance at the front gate. Jenny was still standing there. She, who was so good at reading people, how could she not know she meant nothing to me anymore? But she still insisted on using this method to try and make me soften. I drew the curtains. I turned off the light and went to sleep. But just as my light went out, my phone rang. I don't know how many different numbers Jenny had used. After years of being at each other's throats, this was the first time she had called me so many times. In the past, when we fought, she would also call me countless times, even drive across the city to apologize. But those were distant memories now. Even when I thought about it myself, it felt incredible. That Jenny had once done something so crazy for me. We were really in love back then. And now we really weren't. Her strange behavior wasn't because she still loved me. It was because on a battlefield where she had fought for years, her enemy had suddenly vanished. Her sword and spear had no target, and she just wasn't used to it. I didn't answer her calls. I set my phone to do not disturb. As I was about to put my phone down, a text came in. "Let's talk about the divorce in detail." Before she could call again, I called her back. She answered quickly. But she didn't talk about the divorce. "Jack, my heart hurts so much. Can you?" I was completely fed up and cut her off. "What the hell do you want? Trying to stage some dramatic reconciliation? Stop messing with me. Jenny, you're pathetic." The other end went silent for a long time. So long I thought she might have died. Then she finally spoke again. "You can have Damien. That day he called Leo Dad. I made him say it. He's never met Leo, and Leo has never celebrated his birthday with him. You're his only father. Damien is still little. It was all my idea. He just didn't know who his father was. That's why he called Leo Dad." "Jack, I cut her off. "I've already entrusted the divorce to my lawyer. If you really want to give me Damien, just talk to my lawyer. You don't have to put on this fake show for me." The hand holding the phone slowly lowered. She looked up at the second-floor window, now dark in the snowstorm. Everything was silent, except for the sound of falling snow. She clutched her heart. She stumbled away, her steps uneven. The deep and shallow footprints were quickly covered by the new snow, as if she had never been there at all. No trace left behind, just like her 14 years with Jack. In the end, looking back, there was nothing. Just before the Lunar New Year, my lawyer found me. He brought me the divorce certificate and Damien. I stared at that certificate. A heavy burden was finally lifted from my heart. From now on, my life would be free of the people and things that I despised. Damien looked at me cautiously for a long time. He timidly called out, "Dad." I looked down at him. His face was a mirror image of Jenny's. But that didn't stop the instinctive love I felt for him. I bent down and ruffled his hair. "Damien, let's go home with Dad." His eyes seemed to light up, but there was sadness there too. I didn't know what he was sad about. probably sad that he couldn't be with his mother. I asked him, "Are you going to miss your mom?" Damien shook his head, then nodded. Finally, he shook his head again. I smiled at him. "It's normal to miss your mom. She is your mom after all. If you don't want to be with Dad, I want to be with Dad." Damien cut me off.
Dad, I'm sorry.
I got the wrong dad that day. I took his hand and said softly, "Dad's not mad at you. Dad, Uncle Leo has left Mom, and Mom is sick. Can you go see her?" No matter how things ended between her and Leo, it couldn't erase the daggers she had once thrown at me. I would never forget our wedding night when she ran off to find Leo. In the messages Leo sent, she was kissing him passionately, calling him baby. She whispered vows of eternal love in his ear. They fought side by side, eager to drive me to my death. The past was too ugly. Even thinking about it now sends a chill down my spine. How terrible must I have been for her to despise me so much over a hypocrite like him. I even started to wonder if I had really done something unforgivable. Even a hypocrite like Leo had people defending him, but I had no one. I don't know how I survived that time. I only know that after walking such a deep, lonely, and painful road, after fighting a war all by myself, I still can't feel indifferent about that stained past. I shook my head. Mom doesn't need Dad to see her. Dad and Mom don't love each other anymore. Damien asked, as if he half understood, "If you don't love each other, you can't be together?" I nodded. "Then if Dad stops loving me, will you send me away too?" I burst out laughing. How could Dad not love you? In this world, anyone's love can disappear, but Dad's love for you never will. Really, Dad? Really? Then I want to live with Dad forever. Behind a tree, Jenny stood there, watching the father and son. She couldn't remember the last time Jack had smiled. So he could still smile like that, from the bottom of his heart. The love once hidden deep in his clear eyes had turned to ash. But she could no longer smile. She had lost completely and utterly. If only she had surrendered sooner, would things have turned out differently? A dying person always likes to imagine what if. It was a bit ridiculous. Her eyes suddenly turned red. She turned and left, not daring to look anymore. She was afraid that if she watched for another moment, she would shed the most useless of tears. She had once been so close to the ordinary life of a family of 3, but she had destroyed it with her own hands. Death was heaven's punishment for her. This was her karma. On New Year's Eve, I cooked a table full of food. This was the first New Year that was truly my own. It was also the first New Year I spent with my child. Outside, the sound of fireworks echoed. Fine snow drifted with the wind. The laughter of children rose and fell in the distance. Everything was so familiar, yet so distant. When I was a child, every New Year's Eve my dad would come home very late. He had to work 3 jobs to earn double pay. He would come home late at night, covered in snow, and hand me a small cake. Then he would say, "Jack, happy birthday." After watching me eat the whole cake, he would happily pat my head. He'd ask, "Jack, do you love Dad?" When I nodded, he would cry. Then he would hug me. He would tell me over and over that he loved me. And he would ask me over and over if I really loved him. When I said I did, he would kiss me. Then he would let me go and tell me to go play by myself. He would hide and call my mom. But every time after the call, he would get angry and ignore me, not saying a word. Yet when I woke up in the middle of the night, he would always be sitting by my bed, just watching me quietly. He looked so sad, so very sad. I would get up and hug him, telling him, "Dad, I love you. I really do love you." He would smile again, and then his smile would turn to tears. My mom didn't love my dad, but my dad loved my mom very much. He even loved me because he loved her. I knew that from a very young age. I didn't need Caroline to make me understand anything. I understood my dad better than anyone. My soul no longer tore itself apart, wanting to go back to the past. The past and the present finally overlapped. Damien pushed the door open from outside, bringing in the wind and snow. He pulled a small cake from inside his coat. "Dad, happy birthday." "Dad, I got snowed on, but I didn't let the cake get wet. Am I a good boy?" I brushed the snow off him and asked with a smile, "Where did you get the cake?" Damien said vaguely, "I went out and bought it." I knew Jenny gave it to him, but I didn't expose him. I just held him in my arms and kissed his cheek. "Damien, you're so good." This little person was connected to me by blood. It was amazing. We had spent so little time together, yet we were so close. My life had been so terrible, but I didn't have nothing. Having lived through it was enough. No need to look back. I hope that in the years to come, there will be peace year after year. Epilogue. After her divorce from Jack was finalized, Jenny began to move against the Cole family. The Vance and Cole families were old family friends. The two families had once worked so closely they were practically one. But under Caroline Cole, the family had become too aggressive, and most of their projects involved gray areas. Fearing they would be dragged down, the Vance family had long intended to separate from the Coles. That's why, when Jenny broke off her engagement with Jack, Martin Vance had supported it. When Jenny and Jack were at each other's throats, no one from the Vance family stepped in to resolve the issue. They tacitly approved of them breaking the engagement. They had thought that as long as Jenny didn't marry Jack, the Vance family could begin a full separation from the Coles, preparing to cut off all cooperation step by step. However, they didn't expect Caroline to go straight to Martin Vance. Caroline told him, "If the engagement is broken, then let's go for mutually assured destruction right now. We'll go down together." Martin never expected his intentions to be seen through so clearly by Caroline, or for her to threaten him so directly to his face. At that time, the Vances and Coles were deeply intertwined. If they angered Caroline, the very foundation of the Vance family would be at risk. So Martin used the future of the Vance family to persuade Jenny to marry Jack. Afterward, Caroline forced him to sign a massive, multi-billion-dollar cooperation agreement. They both won, and she and Jack became the sacrifices in this game of interests. After 6 years of living the good life, it was time for Caroline to suffer a little. 6 years of biding her time and planning could finally be put to use. Jenny had to take down Caroline before she died, to clear the way for Jack and Damien. But Caroline had been prepared. She hit back at Jenny hard. However, Jenny's aggressive tactics didn't let Caroline gain an advantage. When both sides were severely weakened, Jenny continued her relentless assault. Martin Vance was furious. He slapped Jenny hard across the face. "You foolish girl. Even if you want to take down that old witch Caroline, this isn't the way to do it. You're sacrificing the entire Vance Corporation." Jenny's ears rang, and blood trickled from the corner of her mouth. But she just wiped it away calmly and said nothing. Martin grew even angrier. Even a weakened giant is still a giant. Even if you want to topple Caroline, you have to do it slowly. What's the rush? Are you dying or something? You just can't wait? So what if you take her down? Jack won't even look back at you. Jenny smiled faintly. "I am dying." She held her diagnosis report in front of Martin's eyes. "You said my mother hated me, didn't you? I'm going to go down and ask her myself if she really did." Martin's expression went from initial disdain to a gradual stiffening, until finally, his vision went black and he staggered. The report fell to the floor. Took him a long time to recover. Martin's mind went blank with a deafening buzz. Years ago, he had learned of her illness by finding a diagnostic report in a hospital room she had stayed in. She left without a word, never giving him any news, right up until her death. To this day, he still doesn't know where her grave is. And now the scene was repeating itself. His daughter was going to leave him in the same way. She really did hate him enough to take their daughter with her. Martin waved his hand dismissively. "Do whatever you want." He staggered out of Jenny's office. The moment he stepped out the door, tears streamed down his wrinkled face. In the dim stairwell, Martin Vance sobbed uncontrollably. Under Jenny's reckless assault, the Cole family finally fell. All of Caroline's illegal businesses in the gray areas were investigated. She was sentenced to death. Everyone in the Cole family who was implicated was sentenced. The news was all over the internet. I scrolled through my phone, looked for a while, then stopped. Power really is a wonderful thing. It could so easily ensure the Cole family would never rise again. No wonder Caroline loved power so much. She would sacrifice anything for it. What goes around comes around. But this belated justice didn't mean much to me. My father wouldn't come back to life. All the pain I had experienced couldn't be erased. So-called retribution, it was nothing more than a small comfort. After the fall of the Cole family, Jenny's illness worsened. She spent most of her time in a stupor. Often, when she woke up, her memory would be scrambled, taking her back to when she and Jack were still in love. She would always subconsciously say, "Jack, I was wrong." After these words came out, her eyes would suddenly sting with tears, and then she would be pulled back to reality. There was no Jack in the hospital room, only her father coldly mocking her. "Stop pretending to be so deeply in love. It's disgusting." Jenny scoffed. How could Jack be there? He would run, not walk, to get away from her. He would never come to see her again. Jenny called out, "Dad." "Martin, what? Don't tell me you're dying. Take care of them, father and son. But don't disturb them. You rebellious girl. You make me worry about everything. Can't you just not die?" Jenny nodded and let out a very low laugh. Then, she closed her eyes. When Martin looked over, she seemed to be asleep, as if she were dying with no regrets. After a long while, Martin raised a hand and wiped away a tear. "Sleep. When you wake up, everything will be as you wished."